You can't just read out some random quote and for the judge to be like, I believe you, yes. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. As you can see, we're in a bit of change of scene. We are in my living room of my student house, so that's why it's a bit, dodgy lighting, dodgy furniture. But I thought I would sit on the sofa as I will be watching a bit of television today. Today I am going to be reacting to How to Get Away with Murder. About this time last year, I reacted to Suits. I kind of said whether it was realistic and as a law student, whether the law was actually like that. And that video did so well. I know a lot of you have said to me when I've seen you in person and things that that was one of your favourite videos. So I thought I would come back with a part 2, but instead change it up and do How to Get Away with Murder because it's also a show that I've seen and personally liked. And it's obviously, there's not much law-related television out there. So today I'm going to be watching that. And yeah, I'm basically going to see whether law school is actually portrayed realistically and if it's not, why. And then also just analyse some of the court scenes and things like that and basically say what really would go down. It's pretty much just a light-hearted video and an opportunity for me to watch a bit of Netflix. The first thing I want to watch is episode 1. I remember when I watched How to Get Away with Murder, the very first episode is kind of like, it follows this guy who was also in Harry Potter, I can't remember his name, but you know who I mean, and he goes through sort of the campus and goes into his first lecture and then he basically gets called out, and I kind of have that strong memory of what it was like, so I'm going to re-watch that now.
Good morning. I don't know what terrible things you've done in your life up to this point, but clearly your comma's out of balance to get assigned to my class.
Like, legit, just that scene of them all with just laptops and like one person writing, very accurate. In law, all you hear is just from people's laptops at the back of the room. Like, honestly.
How to Get Away with Murder. Now to our first case study. The aspirin assassin. Tell us the facts. Connor Walsh.
The Commonwealth of Virginia.
Just the fact that there's a guy in a suit, very accurate. There's always one person in a lecture at law school who's just in a suit for like the whole year. And I mean, like, props to them, but at the same time, do you ever not get bored? Like, just want to rock up in jeans one day? Some people are literally sitting there in tracksuit bottoms and then there's someone always in a 3-piece suit and I never understand why. Like, you do realise lectures aren't a job interview. But, yeah, so that's accurate, the fact that this guy's in a suit and everyone else is in, like, normal clothes. But equally, that whole thing where they're like, tell us the facts. I actually can't recall a situation at law school where I've had something similar to that. There'll be times when I've been in seminars and they go, who wants to tell us about this case? But it's not like a, what's the facts, what's the verdict, what's the, like, no, it's literally just more like, so there's this case, this happened, then like he did this and she said this, and then this is what the judge said. Like, it's more casual and it's not like picking on people. I mean, I'm sure there are some lecturers that probably love picking on people, but I don't think I've ever really experienced that at law school.
The defendant, Miss Sadowski, worked as the second assistant to the victim, Arthur Kaufman, the CEO of an advertising agency. Miss Sadowski was not only his assistant, though. She was also his mistress.
What happened after Mr. Kaufman's wife of 27 years, Agnes, found out about the affair?
I just love how she has like a full PowerPoint prepared. I remember when I had my lectures on murder, picture a white slide, black writing, and literally just said criminal law, murder, and then literally had a few slides after that. And on each slide it was like mens rea, next slide, actus reus, next slide, defense, next slide, verdict, or whatever, and that's what was on it. It's like 2 words per slide, and she's got pictures, bullet points, titles, even a coloured background. Wow, can't relate.
What occurred when Mr. Kaufman ingested the aspirin? Anyone?
Mr. Kaufman went into anaphylactic shock.
And also, it's so strange that they like volunteer the information. I've never been in a lecture where people are like, pick me, pick me, pick me, I really want to say. Like, everyone's like, please, for the love of God, do not pick me. Like, do not make eye contact. Like, do not, it's not me. But like, no one volunteers answers ever. They're like, if they can get through that whole hour lecture without saying a word to anybody else, Perfection. That's the ideal.
His assistant was able to resuscitate him. Michaela Pratt.
So we've established the actus reus. What was the mens rea? Wesley Gibbons.
His face of like, ugh, me.
Mens rea?
Mens rea.
Right.
Day one and you're unprepared?
No. Well, yes, but
So you have to work really hard to fool me.
I only got accepted here 2 days ago. From the wait list. So that's probably why you didn't get my email address.
If that happened at uni here, you can bet somebody would be complaining, being like, that was bullying. You made me out myself in front of the whole year. Like, that's awful. That's actually awful.
Actus reus means guilty act, the poisoning of Mr. Kaufman with an aspirin, whereas mens rea means guilty mind. So what was Miss Sadowski's mens rea?
His mental state. Come on. Come on, Wesley.
Think, Mr. Gibbons. It's nothing more than common sense.
It's true, to be fair. A lot of law is common sense.
The mens rea, also referred to as intent, was to kill Mr. Kaufman.
That's right. Your name?
Laurel Castillo.
Never take a learning opportunity away from another student. No matter how smart you need everyone to think you are.
She would low-key get so many warnings at a law school. How is she still a lecturer is beyond, because that would not go down in the UK. People would slap her with a warning, like, so fast. Next video. Oh, a courtroom scene. Why is there a kid in court?
Nada te va a hacer daño, amor.
Mr. Walsh, may I suggest a recess?
That's not necessary, Your Honor. Inhumane living conditions.
His living conditions are not an issue here.
Article 37 of the UN Convention on Rights of Children demands no child shall be subjected to torture.
Get that legislation.
By that standard alone, my client deserves asylum.
Binding.
Just last year, the Chief Justice wrote that the internment of
Not being
Japanese
funny, but I
Americans in
love
World
how
War
he literally
II
just passes
was
them to
morally
her, and she
repugnant.
clearly has a photographic
Look at
memory
this
of just.
boy. Can you honestly
Yes, I
say
know the
that the
point.
conditions
It's
we
like,
have him in
okay.
are not morally repugnant?
Your Honor, the Chief Justice's remarks were about Korematsu, a case that has never been overruled.
Let me quote the Chief Justice.
And legit, like, the judge in that situation would most likely be like, you can't really present new stuff like that. And if you do, they'll be like, where's that from? What interview? What case? Like, you can't just read out some random quote and for the judge to be like, I believe you. Yes. Like, that's brill. Like, they'll be like, where is the authority?
Have died in the
Mr.
custody
Walsh,
of
let
ICE.
me speak.
And I refuse to wait for my client to
Kinda
die
stop.
due to the neglect and
That
cruelty
judge?
that he is suffering at the hands of the American
I
government.
agree with you, Mr. Walsh.
That judge would be like, bang, I'll see you in my office, or whatever they call it, I can't, chambers. Like, they'll be like, no judge would ever let a lawyer talk to them like that, but just because it undermines authority. And equally, the judges work so many years to get where they are. They're not having some junior like lawyer come in and to talk to them in that way. That judge would be like, there'd be a lot of the time, if you as a lawyer like basically irritate the judge, they will be proper harsh to you and be less likely to be favourable in sentencing and stuff like that for your client. Like, there is a lot of prejudice and there is a lot of like bias that goes on with judge sentencing. They say they're impartial. Not really. No person is truly impartial, especially on matters that are so like based on morals and things like that, which the law is. So him annoying the judge like that, okay.
You've lost. Mr. Walsh, well done.
No judge would be like, well done, well done. They'd be like, don't talk to me like that. They literally, no, that would not happen. Okay, next clip. Closing argument. Okay, we're going through all the rounds of different elements of law here.
492,750. That's how many minutes Nathaniel Leahy, my client, spent in a cement box smaller than a parking space. Now, the prosecution claims that Nathaniel's time in solitary did not make him
I like
insane,
this.
even though a neutral, court-appointed doctor
I like how they're
testified
basically
that he did.
mapping out
Not to mention numerous studies
the
that
aerospace that he
prove
would have been in to
solitary
really prove that
confinement
point.
causes severe
Really going on his
psychological
emotional
disorders.
ties
The facts
there
of the
to bring that
case
point
are
home.
clear. Nathaniel Leahy went into solitary confinement for less than a year. And just days after he got out, he did something he'd never done before. He snapped. 492,750 minutes. And all he heard was this.
I love that. Those emotional ties she's putting on, beautiful. Honestly, closing arguments are one of those things that you do try quite hard on at law school. Like, I think I have done one in 3 years. Like, you don't do them very often when you do like mock trials and stuff at law school. But if you did this shit in a seminar, like, 'cause that's where when you do it at law school, how you would do it. I mean, I don't know how it would go down. I think if you had quite a free-flowing lecturer, they'd be like, yeah. But if you didn't, they'd be like, what are you doing? They'd be like, just, you don't need the theatrics, just sit there. I don't know how this would go down, but me personally, I think that's cool. I like how they've done this. Good telly, good lawyering skills. Okay, let's watch another one. Cross-examination. Well, we are really doing everything to do with law here.
I didn't. My tech expert told me that the IP address linked to Barfly 22 matches your computer.
Is that true? I didn't have time to check.
Someone steal your computer and impersonate you? Remember, you're under oath.
We have free speech in this country. So whatever it is you think that I wrote.
This hateful, anti-Muslim rhetoric.
It does not make me a murderer.
You know what? I would agree with you if you hadn't made up the story that your mother wanted a divorce.
I didn't make that up.
So was Hannah there when she told you that? Can you back him up on that, Hannah?
Who's the witness here, Your Honor?
You thought Nanda was walking to the mosque that night, so when you saw a woman in a hijab, you ran over your own mother. That's how incompetent a killer you are.
I was nowhere near the house that
so
night.
the cell phone towers and the street cameras can prove that, or the GPS in your car.
I mean, it would have been so much stronger if she had that evidence.
Because your mother chose to love a brown woman instead of you.
You are a stain on this country, just like her.
Not gonna lie, that was a bit of an emotional jab there in that cross-examination.
That was epic.
I can't say I've ever walked out of court and was like, that was epic. I'm always like, lunch? Is it lunchtime? Okay, one final video, I think. Oh, negotiation. Okay, we'll watch a negotiation.
Base salary?
Oh my God.
You must not.
That just brought back the most triggering memory for me. Nothing to do with the show, but you know when he slid her that piece of paper? I had in my very first negotiation at law school in first year, I think it was around first term, like literally only a few months. I was a fresh little law student when this happened. With my negotiation team, I had two people. I was the lead negotiator. We're going against other people who were also like obviously students. And we're at a key point in the negotiation where we were like, it's make or break, like we either push them or we concede. And I was like, do you know what? I think we can break them. That's always my negotiator attitude. I think we can break them. So I was like, do you know what? If we push and like say they have no evidence because they literally didn't. If we bullshit a little bit, like up our evidence and up our side, we might be able to sway them. Anyway, and then my team knew that, but there's one guy on my team, and oh god, this is it's one of them stories that everyone in that classroom tells this to me whenever I see them wherever we've gone on a night out, because they're like, lol, it was so funny. And I'm like, yeah, for you guys, it was traumatic for me. The guy in my team, I handed him a piece of paper, and on it said, this figure or we walk, just so we were all on the same page. Like, I didn't want them to accept an offer because I felt like the way they were talking was they were gonna like override me basically and go, yeah, we'll take it. And I was like, we can't do that, okay? It would, like, our client would not want that. So I said that to him and he read it, and he literally then just got the piece of paper and turned round to the other side and went, look at what my colleague has just written. She said, if we don't get this figure, we walk. So that's what we're gonna do. And it's like, in the moment, I was like, does he have some master plan how that's going to be a negotiation technique, or is he just screwed us? No, he just screwed us. He basically like did that, showed our side, but then still had no sort of like authority with it. And then the other side basically just laughed at him and were like, we walked then. And then we ended up walking anyway. But that was traumatic. Literally picture that going on, and we had 40 students watching that, as well as the like 2-3 lecturers, and I was just sitting there like, oh no, the room is in flames, what do we do? That was traumatic memories.
I've been offered double that amount.
I find that hard to believe.
Called to check.
He is me in negotiations.
Lindstrom,
I
Shorish
find that very
Group,
hard to
Summers and
believe.
Powers.
We'll take the billable hour requirements off the table. Don't want you to be hindered by any...
And billable hours, that's another thing with law. I don't think people realise that when you want to be a solicitor, that being a solicitor is literally governed by 6 minutes slots that your whole like week is filled with, like because they bill by every 6 minutes, so if you want a break you've got 6 minutes. Like, it's awful.
And it's no supervisor, no staff meetings, no backseat driving.
You're great because you're you, Annalise. The last thing we'd want is to micromanage you.
Said by every micromanager ever.
Stop the blood flow.
You're wrong.
That never happens.
Her audacity, I love her as a character. I'm never wrong, that never happens. What a mood. Okay, well, that is it for the How to Get Away with Murder react. Honestly, what a show, right? Like, it's kind of realistic and it's kind of not at the same time. I would say How to Get Away with Murder, from what I've just watched now, is probably more realistic than Suits, purely because Suits shows that corporate flashy side, and that typically isn't really what goes on. Law is quite boring on the day-to-day, whereas this, I guess, shows more like snippets of the law, which tends to be like more realistic. But as I said, there was still stuff with that in those clips that happened that would never happen either at law school or like in practice. So, you know, good TV all the same. Let me know if you want more videos like this or you want me to react to something else. Low key, considering doing Legally Blonde, I love that film and it's like a rite of passage for like law students to watch it, so it kind of makes sense if I were to react to it. Let me know if you'd want that in the comments below. I hope you like this video. I will see you in the next one. I'll see you next week. Bye guys.